In conversation for She Slays with Rojita Tiwari, a drinks professional.
Here we go now. It's
Afternoons with Annie.
94.3 Radio 1.
On She Slays, I am talking to an award-winning drinks professional. Yeah, she's a specialist when it comes to wine and spirits. And she can tell you exactly what this tastes like, what probably the composition is even, and maybe if you should stick to it at all. I mean, I remember my very recent encounter with Rojita, which was, at an event where they were introducing India's first rye whiskey. And it was amazing. I mean, I liked the fact that Rojita also agreed, or rather I agreed with Rojita. And she was kind of happy to know that I picked the flavor that she thought was better than the other. Well, anyways, there's not going to be any debate about that. But Rojita, coming back to you and, the kind of struggles you had in the beginning. It is an industry where you see more men than women. You joined at a time when, of course, that was pretty much the scenario back then. And you also come with a background where you had to sit and explain all this to your family members. But you were pretty keen, and they obviously today know how well and successful you have been taking up this profession. Moving forward, when you went to so many different places and the experiences that you earned, is there one story that stands out?
There are many actually, but there are so many interesting stories that it's difficult to just share one.
Right.
For example, I would like to share one memorable experience because, when you talk about tasting wines and spirits throughout the year, I taste a lot of them because I also judge at wine and spirits competitions all over the world.
Right.
So I get to travel to these regions where it's probably not accessible to regular people or consumers or tourists who are visiting to these places.
Right.
The recent one is to a visit to Pantelleria, which is an island in the southeastern part of Italy, very close to Africa. And you take a 45 minutes flight from the main island of Sicily to Pantelleria. Actually, it was even 2025, if I'm not wrong. I don't remember. But anyway, so it's very, very close by. But when the moment you land, you feel like you are not a part of Europe anymore. I mean, it just feels like you're somewhere in the middle of Mediterranean Sea, and it's just the islanders actually say that on a good day they can see Africa from the island, and whereas you can't see Sicily anywhere. So it was kind of a surreal feeling when you realize that you are in a completely isolated place, yet it's accessible to the mainland. But the locals there, the way they cherish the wines, the local produce, even the water from that region, the natural springs that are there in the island. And it teaches you so much more when you sit down and meet all the winemakers. There were 10 or 11 winemakers from the Pantelleria, which produces the best quality of sweet wines called Pasito de Pantelleria.
Okay.
And when these producers sit with you, share their wine knowledge, they talk about why, your terroir or your land or a combination of your geography, your climate and the winemakers' know-how is so important in terms of producing just a bottle of Pasito de Pantelleria, which is one of the rarest wines in the world. It's incredible.
Wow.
So they shared not just the grapes, they also shared the local cheese, the local other producers. And it's kind of an incredible feeling to be a part of that culture, and where you're exchanging their life with yours, and that's something that stayed with me.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I love the fact that what has intrigued you is something that you have gone after, trying to discover more, learn more every day and become a specialist. And I like the way you also mentioned, I don't like to be called an expert because there is a new learning every single day. Despite having an experience of over 15 to 20 years in this, area, Rojita, you've kept your feet grounded so well, and kudos to that.
Thank you.
Rojita Tiwari on the show with me today. Of course, the conversation continues and there's more. She will tell you about the experiences that she's had. And also, if at all you're interested and this inspires you to join the industry, well, she might have a trick or two. Stay tuned. This is Afternoons with Annie. Christmas Tree Farm by Taylor Swift. It's the Christmas spirit and cheer. I'm in conversation for She Slays with Rojita Tiwari, a drinks professional.
Here we go now.
Afternoons with Annie.
94.3 Radio
On the show with me on She Slays, it's Rojita Tiwari, an award-winning drinks professional. And she's also the recipient of the most influential food and beverage industry professional award in the year 2020. Also the top 40 under 40 Indian Achievers Award, again the same year, 2020. Rojita, like I did mention earlier, male-dominated sort of, a world. But did you find it difficult to, get through, reach, the heights of success and recognition that you've received?
Yes, it is true. I mean, it is true because I saw it happening in front of my eyes. Mm-hmm. When I started working in 2006, there were hardly few women who were in the industry.
Right.
There were a handful of winemakers, one or two, who were women. There were probably one or two consultants working in the industry. But one or maximum, I think there were 2 or 3 people who were writing about wines and spirits as well. So it was a rare field for women to venture into, obviously.
Right.
Because, mostly because it's quite unconventional, you see, because women didn't even think that there could be a career in this field.
Right.
There were not too many job opportunities. For now, when you look at the industry, you have sommeliers, other hospitality professionals, consultants,
Right.
teachers, educators, and your brand owners and winemakers,
Right.
spirits makers, distillers, and blenders. So the entire industry itself opened lot many opportunities of women in the last 10 to 15 years.
Right.
But the men, even now, when a woman walks into a room full of men who are expecting to have a glass of whiskey, always look at a woman and think, oh my God, what does she know about whiskey when I've been drinking whiskey all my life?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
That's a prejudice that you have to fight with almost every single day. But things have been changing because I have been doing a lot of these whiskey tastings as well. And I love the fact that this is quite intimidating for some men. But then by the end of the evening, they also change their thought process and they accept the fact that, okay, fine, there is a woman who can also tell you a little more about the drink that you've been drinking for all your life.
Right.
How to
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being, the beacon of hope for all other women who want to get into this industry. Of course, there are many who are already in the industry and, probably facing the struggles, similar struggles or otherwise. And for the others who want to follow, if they can, come up to you and take some advice from you, it'll be lovely. We're going to talk about it when we come back on the other side. Also, I want to ask you, what are some of the best wines you've tasted? Of course, you've shared one story, but maybe if there are any other, I'd love to hear that from you because, wow, considering you travel so much, I'm sure the experience is so much richer than what you're sharing with us. Don't go anywhere. This is Afternoons with Annie. She Slays with Rojita Tiwari. Vatsal with In Our Hands, an Indie original on 94.3 Radio 1. My name is Annie. I'm in conversation with a wine and spirits specialist. Her name is Rojita Tiwari of Drinks and Destination.
Here we go now. Get set.
Afternoons with Annie.
94.3 Radio 1.
On the show with me today with Rojita Tiwari, and well, she's been slaying it in the beverage industry, being a specialist, wines and spirits, and she's been doing it for close to 2 decades now. Rojita, this is a beautiful moment I'm sharing with you, and I'm really, really glad we're having this conversation. I know there may be, youngsters who walk up to you and say, oh my God, you're doing something that is so different. How is it that you, wake yourself up every day and push yourself and say, even if I face criticism or even if I see biases or prejudices, I'm going to still keep doing what I do because I really love what I do and I'm goddamn good at it too.
Yes, that's true. I mean, I think it's a part of the process because when you know that an industry that is developing is also opening up more avenues for a new kind of, participation from a different gender or, from different age group.
Right.
Then you know that obviously you have to also accept the challenges that comes your way.
Yeah.
There are times when you don't know because liquor industry in general is not very organized in the country.
Sure.
So even if you have a lot of job opportunities, the youngsters need to be guided properly.
Absolutely.
And it's not just your interest or passion that can help you build a career in the industry. You also need to be educated properly. There are certification courses that you can do. For example, the WCT courses, which is an affiliation from the UK-based WCT organization, and where you do these courses on wines and spirits. There are many people, or for that matter, the sommelier course. There are many people who are doing it already. So once you do that, have a fundamental understanding of the subject, then you build on your career from, afterwards, after having a certification in that particular area. So that gives you a kind of strong foothold because your foundation is strong, and you're also, opening new opportunities, meeting new people, interviewing and tasting a lot of spirits and wine, because that is the most important part. You need to keep your palate open to different styles and types of drinks. Only then you get to learn.
Absolutely. That's something we must keep in mind. So for those listening, if you are keen, this world is waiting for you to happen, because it is a big, big industry we're talking about that's growing in taking big strides in India as well. That's something I want to touch upon when we come back on the other side. So don't go anywhere. This is Afternoons with Annie. She slays with Rojita Tiwari of Drinks and Destinations, drinks professional as she calls herself. Stay tuned. Gorillaz, Tame Impala and Booty Brown with New Gold from Cracker Island, the album. This hour is dedicated to She Slays. I'm in a conversation with wine and spirits specialist. Her name is Rojita Tiwari, who's also founded Drinks and Destination, a company, a learning platform, the one that also organizes trainings, tastings and events.
Here we go now.
Afternoons with Annie.
94.3 Radio 1.
On the show with me on She Slays, Rojita Tiwari, who's experimented in many areas within the drinks industry, within the beverage industry, where not only has she won many awards and accolades, she's also come up with Drinks and Destinations LLP, which is a company that not only is a learning platform but also organizes trainings, tastings and events, offering consultancy to a number of beverage brands. Rojita, so in India, when it comes to the beverage industry, the industry on the whole, is it growing? Do you see?
Be it your own homegrown brands or be it your bottled in India products, both have a big future at the moment, because the consumers are opening up to the idea. They have a good purchasing power. They are also looking to experiment with different styles and flavors of spirits at the moment.
Absolutely.
So, for example, last week when we were there for the Concilium Black launch, we had two expressions, the rye malt and the cigar malt. Both of them are unique because they are artistically crafted and globally selected and hand-picked malts which are brought into India and bottled in India. The blenders are a council of 3 people who have selected the blends, and 3 people who have worked on that, creating that flavor that you tasted the other day at the launch. And I'm very happy to be associated with the brand as the chief brand strategist, because that's a brand which I think has a big future in the Indian market.
Oh, that is lovely news. A message to those who are looking at joining this industry, Rojita.
I think obviously people who are looking to get into this industry, the main areas as I mentioned, there are a lot of career opportunities, starting from being a sommelier or being a blogger or an influencer, which is not the right word, but someone who has the knowledge and know how to kind of influence others' buying decisions. And of course, you can be a blender or a winemaker, or you could be a brand owner, launch your own brands of wines or spirits. And I think this is the right time, especially when you Make in India is, or vocal for local is the word of the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that everybody is working towards to push and which will eventually catapult the economy of the country as well. But this has been wonderful, Rojita. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for slaying it all along.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be on the show. Thanks.
And with that, I've come to the close of my show. Post Malone and Doja Cat from 12 Carat Toothache. It's the song I Like You I'm leaving you with. And I will be back tomorrow, 12 noon, 94.3 Radio 1 World Radio Station. My name is Annie. I'm going to start a new segment tomorrow. It's called Small Talk. Hear all the small talks that we love to do, and sometimes we also love to not miss. Yeah, bit of gossip here and there with one of my colleagues, and one who's a huge, self-proclaimed, probably the biggest fan of Harry Styles, Niall Horan, everybody in the One Direction band. It's Arohi Bose. So I'll catch you tomorrow at 12. Till then, stay safe, stay green. Ta-da.